All right, so are you ready to dive into some seriously luxurious lumber today?
I am absolutely ready. Let's talk about some fancy wood.
I had no idea. There was so much to learn about this stuff. It's a whole world.
It really is. There's history, craftsmanship, beauty, environmental concerns. It's a lot to unpack.
Well, we've got your research to guide us today. You sent over some incredible articles about the most expensive woods in the world.
Yeah, those should give us a good starting point. I think what's really interesting is looking at what actually makes these woods so valuable.
Yeah, like that whole death penalty thing for using the wrong wood. What was that all about?
Oh yeah, that's pink ivory. It's only found in a very specific region of southern Africa. And for centuries, it was exclusively for Zulu royalty. Like literally anyone else using it could be punished by death.
Seriously, that's intense. So I'm guessing rarity is a major factor when we're talking about expensive wood, right?
Rarity is definitely a big one, but it's not the whole story. Think of it like diamonds. They're rare, but a poorly cut diamond isn't going to be worth as much as a well-cut one. It's the same with wood.
So it's about more than just being scarce.
Exactly. There are other qualities that come into play. Unique visual features, incredible durability, even cultural significance. It all adds up.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. You mentioned visual qualities, and honestly, some of these photos in the articles are just stunning.
The visual appeal is definitely a huge factor. Indian sandalwood, for example, has this amazing range of colors, from deep browns and reds to almost a silvery gray.
Wow. And then there was another one, I think it was Cocobolo, with those crazy color variations.
Yes, Cocobolo. The heartwood has these incredible reddish-brown and orange tones.
Hold on, heartwood. What exactly is that?
Ah, right. So heartwood is the dense inner part of the tree trunk. It's usually darker and more durable than the outer wood, which is called sapwood. And with Cocobolo, that heartwood is just stunning. And get this, it actually changes color after the wood is cut.
No way. So it transforms over time.
It does. It deepens and darkens as it ages,
Right.
which makes it even more sought after for high-end furniture and things like knife handles.
That's so cool. So it's not just about the initial look, it's also about how the wood evolves. And speaking of lasting a long time, the articles mention that some of these woods are incredibly durable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of them are so dense and resistant to decay that they're practically forever woods, like ebony, for example.
Ebony. Yeah, I've seen that used for things like piano keys and those fancy carvings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can withstand centuries of use and still look incredible. It's amazing.
That makes sense. Especially these days with everyone talking about sustainability, the idea of furniture that could last for generations is very appealing.
For sure. And then you've got woods like Cocobolo and violet wood, which are known for their exceptional water resistance.
That's right. Cocobolo was mentioned as being really popular for outdoor furniture because it can handle the elements.
Exactly. And even boat building. It can really stand up to moisture without warping or rotting.
Now, you mentioned violet wood. That one really caught my eye because apparently it's super difficult to work with.
It is. It's incredibly dense and hard, which is great for durability, but it makes it a nightmare for craftspeople. Even sawing through it can be a challenge.
No, it's like trying to cut through a rock.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And of course, that difficulty just adds to the value of anything made from violet wood.
It makes sense. I mean, the more challenging it is to work with, the more exclusive and expensive the final piece will be.
Exactly. And you see a similar thing with Dalbergia, another very rare and desirable wood. It takes a real master to work with that material, and that skill definitely comes at a price.
I'm starting to see that the value of these woods goes way beyond just the wood itself. It's about the history, the craftsmanship, the cultural significance.
You've got it. There's a whole other dimension to it. And that's what makes this topic so fascinating.
Absolutely. So we've got rarity, visual appeal, durability. What else are we missing?
Well, we haven't even touched on the cultural and historical aspects of these woods and how that plays into their value.
Oh, right. Like that agar wood stuff I was reading
Yeah.
about. It's used in religious ceremonies and medicine, right?
Yes, agar wood. It's been used for centuries, particularly in Southeast Asia. It has this deep, rich aroma that's highly valued for incense and perfumes.
And I remember reading that it actually gets infected by a specific type of mold.
That's right. That's what creates the resin within the wood that gives it that unique fragrance. It's pretty amazing.
So it's like this perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and cultural significance all wrapped up in one.
You could say that. And of course, that drives the price up even more. But it also raises some concerns.
Concerns? Like what?
Well, with such high demand for these woods, there's always a risk of over-harvesting and unsustainable practices.
Right. It's like that whole supply and demand thing. The more people want something, the more pressure there is to get it, no matter the cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where things can get tricky. especially when you're dealing with slow-growing trees and delicate ecosystems.
Yeah, that article about Indian sandalwood really hit home for me. It's prized for its fragrance and used in everything from incense to perfumes, but it's now facing endangerment because of overharvesting.
It's a classic example of how popularity and demand can clash with conservation efforts.
So how do we find that balance?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We want to enjoy these amazing woods, but we also have to be mindful of the impact, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just about protecting individual species either.
So it's bigger than that.
It is. It's about entire ecosystems. The overharvesting of these slow-growing trees can have a ripple effect throughout the whole forest.
I see what you mean. It disrupts the balance.
Exactly. And it's not just about plants and animals either.
Oh, right. The articles mention that local communities can be impacted too.
Yeah, many communities around the world depend on these forests for their livelihoods. So when the forest suffers, the people suffer too.
It's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what can we do about it?
Yeah, that's the big question. Should we just stop using these luxury woods altogether?
I don't think it's about complete abstinence. It's more about being responsible and making informed choices.
Informed choices.
Yeah.
So like doing our research before we buy anything. Exactly. Knowing where the wood comes from, understanding the challenges those species face, being mindful of the practices of the companies we buy from.
So it's about asking questions, not just admiring a beautiful piece of furniture, but actually thinking about the journey that wood took to get there.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to dig a little deeper, Ask the seller about their sourcing practices.
Oh, right. Like, do they work with sustainable forestry initiatives? Do they have certifications?
All of that. It's amazing what you can find out if you just ask. And as consumers, we have a lot of power,
I hear that. We vote with our wallets, right?
You got it. Supporting businesses that prioritize sustainability sends a big message.
It's about putting our money where our mouth is.
And there's another side to this, too. The whole longevity thing that we talked about earlier. Those forever woods.
Oh, right. Like ebony. It can literally last for centuries.
Exactly. So if you invest in a piece made from responsibly sourced ebony, it could potentially last for generations.
Wow. So it's not just about where it came from, it's about how long it lasts. It is choosing quality over quantity. Moving away from that fast furniture mindset.
I like that. It's about slowing down and appreciating something that's well-made and built to last.
Exactly. It's about rediscovering traditional craftsmanship and valuing those natural materials.
It's about getting back to basics in a way.
I think so. And it ties back to that cultural significance we talked about earlier. For centuries, different cultures have revered specific woods for their property.
Right. They use them in their art, their rituals, their everyday lives.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the wood itself. It was about that deeper connection.
Yeah, like those Zulu royals and their pink ivory. It was more than just a status symbol. It was a symbol of respect for the material and its origins.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all learn from today. It's about appreciation, understanding, and ensuring that these woods have a future.
Well said. So on that note, one of the articles mentioned African blackwood and how it's facing some serious challenges these days.
Oh, yes, African blackwood. It's highly sought after for making clarinets and other woodwind instruments.
But it's also a threatened species.
It is. Overharvesting and habitat loss have taken their toll. It's a real shame.
It is. It's almost ironic. A wood that's known for creating music might be silenced because of our actions.
It's a powerful reminder that we have to be mindful of the choices we make. Even seemingly small decisions can have a big impact down the line.
So where do we go from here? What can we do to make a difference?
Well, we've talked about a few things already. Asking questions about sourcing, supporting sustainable businesses, choosing durable pieces.
Right. But what else can we do?
Education is huge. The more we learn about these woods and the challenges they face, the better equipped we are to make informed choices.
So it's about spreading the word.
Exactly. Talk to your friends, your family, share what you've learned on social media.
Get the message out there.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of supporting organizations that are working to protect these forests. There are some amazing groups doing great work.
Right, like donating, volunteering, even just sharing information about their work can help.
Any little bit helps. And remember, it's not just about these individual species. It's about the whole ecosystem, the forests, the wildlife, the communities that depend on them.
It's about seeing the bigger picture.
It is. Understanding that our choices have far-reaching consequences.
So it's about making conscious choices. As consumers, as citizens, as human beings.
Well said. It's about recognizing that true luxury is about more than just possessions.
It's about respecting the materials, respecting the planet, respecting each other.
I like that. It's about understanding that we're all connected.
And that our choices matter.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, let's move on to our final thoughts for today.
Okay, so we've talked about the history, the challenges, the responsibility. What about the future? What's next for these luxurious woods?
That is the question, isn't it? It's hard to say for sure, but there are definitely some interesting things happening in the world of conservation and innovation.
Okay, so give me some hope. What kind of innovations are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, there's a growing movement towards sustainable forestry. More and more initiatives are popping up that focus on responsible harvesting and reforestation.
So it's about finding a way to use these woods without destroying the forests.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just planting trees. It's about community-based forest management, too.
Yeah.
Involving the people who live and work in these areas.
So it's about giving local communities a voice.
Absolutely. When people have a stake in the health of the forest, they're more likely to protect it. It's a win-win.
I like that. But what about alternatives? Are there any materials out there that could help reduce the demand for these rare woods?
There are. Actually, researchers are doing some pretty cool stuff with engineered woods composites, even bio-based plastics.
So like materials that could mimic the properties of ebony or rosewood, but without the environmental impact.
Exactly. It's still early days, but the potential is there. And I think it speaks to a broader shift in how we think about luxury these days.
How so?
Well, for a long time, luxury was all about rarity and exclusivity.
Yeah.
The more expensive and harder to get, the better.
But that's changing.
I think so. People are starting to realize that true luxury is about more than just owning something rare. It's about appreciating the craftsmanship, the story, the sustainability behind it.
It's about knowing that something was made with care and respect for the materials, for the people who made it, for the planet.
Exactly. It's about valuing quality and longevity over trends and disposability.
It's about making choices that align with our values.
Well said. And I think that's a great takeaway from our deep dive today.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground. We've gone from death penalties to endangered species lists, from the unique properties of these woods to the innovative solutions being developed to protect them.
It's been quite the journey.
It has. And it just goes to show that even something as seemingly simple as wood can open up a whole world of complexity, beauty, and responsibility.
So, to our listener, we hope you've enjoyed this exploration of luxury lumber. And remember, every piece of wood has a story to tell.
Take the time to listen, to ask questions, to make choices that reflect the value you place on these incredible materials.
And next time you come across a beautiful wooden object, whether it's a piece of furniture, a musical instrument, or even just a simple carving, let it be a reminder of the interconnectedness of nature, culture, and our own choices as consumers.
Beautifully put. Until next time, happy listening.